Derek pulls up to the restaurant in a leased BMW, hands his keys to the valet, and walks in wearing a watch he's still paying off in monthly installments. Behind him, a man named Sam parks his own 7-year-old Camry 2 blocks away because it's free, walks in wearing a plain polo shirt, and sits down at the same table Derek is heading toward. They're meeting for the same reason, a business deal that could change both of their years. To anyone watching, Derek looks like the success story. Sam looks like the guy who works for him. The truth is almost exactly backwards. Derek's monthly payments, the car, the watch, the country club, the 4-bedroom house he can technically afford, but only just add up to more than he takes home some months. Sam's Camry is paid off. His house is paid off. His investment account, the one nobody at this table will ever hear about tonight, just crossed $2 million. One of these men is rich. The other one is wealthy. And by the end of this dinner, only one of them will still be standing when the market turns. Here's the confusion. Almost nobody untangles until it's expensive. Rich is a feeling. Wealthy is a number. Rich is the BMW, the watch, the table at the restaurant everyone recognizes. It's visible, it's immediate, and it's designed by marketers, by culture, by the entire aspirational economy to be the thing you chase. Wealthy is boring. It's a brokerage statement nobody photographs. It's the absence of debt. It's a number that only exists on paper until the day you actually need it. The two get confused because, for a while, they can look identical from the outside. A 28-year-old with a 6-figure salary and a leased Mercedes looks exactly as successful in a single glance as a 28-year-old with a 6-figure salary and a paid-off Honda who's quietly investing the difference. It takes years, sometimes a decade, for the gap between them to become visible. By then, one of them has built real wealth. The other has built a lifestyle that requires the paycheck to never stop. Derek makes $145,000 a year, which by most measures is a genuinely excellent income. He should, on paper, be building serious wealth. Instead, $2,100 a month goes to the BMW lease. $340 goes to the watch, financed over 36 months. The country club is $410 a month, plus the dinners he feels obligated to buy when he's there. The mortgage on the house is manageable, but the furniture, the landscaping, the 2 vacations a year that match what his coworkers are posting, all of it adds up to a lifestyle engineered, month by month, to look exactly as successful as his income suggests it should. What it doesn't show is that Derek has $3,200 in his checking account on a good week and considerably less on a bad one. He has no real investments outside of $401k. He's never adjusted since he opened it. If his income stopped tomorrow, Derek would be in serious financial trouble within 90 days. Despite making almost 3 times the median household income in his state. Derek isn't reckless. He isn't stupid. He's simply spending exactly what looking successful costs. Sam makes $98,000 a year less than Derek by a wide margin. Nobody at that dinner table would guess it, but Sam is worth roughly 4 times what Derek is. Sam's Camry is 9 years old and paid off. His house, a modest 3-bedroom he bought a decade ago, is also paid off. He wears a $60 watch he bought at a department store because it tells time exactly as well as Derek's does. He hasn't taken on a single dollar of consumer debt in over a decade. What Sam does instead is almost aggressively unremarkable. 22% of every paycheck goes straight into index funds before he ever sees it. He's done this, without fail, for 11 years. He's never timed the market, never chased a hot stock, never once explained to anyone at a dinner table what his portfolio looks like because nobody has ever asked, because nothing about Sam has ever made them curious enough to. The gap between Derek and Sam isn't talent, it isn't income. It's the simple decision, repeated for over a decade, about what the money was actually for. Financial planners have a simple diagnostic they use with new clients, and it explains almost everything about the gap between Derek and Sam. Income tells you what you make. Net worth tells you what you keep. Only one of those numbers determines what happens if the paycheck stops. The data on this is stark. Research on American households consistently shows that income and net worth correlate far less than people assume. Plenty of high earners have almost nothing saved, while many moderate earners have built substantial wealth simply by keeping their spending well below what they could technically afford. The behavioral finance term for Derek's situation is lifestyle inflation. Every raise, every bonus, every bit of extra income immediately absorbed by a corresponding increase in spending, so that the gap between income and expenses never actually widens no matter how much is earned. Sam avoided this through one mechanical habit. He decided early what percentage of every dollar was untouchable before it ever reached his checking account. Derek never made that decision at all. He simply spent what was left after the bills, and the bills quietly grew to match the income. This is the entire difference between looking rich and being wealthy, reduced to a single sentence. Wealthy people decide what happens to their money before they see it. Rich-looking people decide after. 14 months after that dinner, Derek's company announces a round of layoffs. He isn't on the list, not yet, but 3 people on his floor are, and one of them made almost exactly what Derek makes. For the first time in years, Derek actually calculates what would happen if it were him. The number is worse than he expected. The BMW lease doesn't care that he's unemployed. The watch payment doesn't pause. The country club doesn't offer a grace period. He has, by his own math, about 11 weeks of runway before serious trouble starts for a man earning nearly 6 figures. Sam, at the same company in a different department, runs the same calculation out of habit rather than fear. He has 4 years of expenses sitting in his investment account, completely untouched by whatever happens to his job title next month. The layoff, when it's announced, is genuinely just news to him, uncomfortable but not existential. Same company, same round of layoffs, 2 completely different nights of sleep. There's a compounding cost to Derek's situation that goes beyond the monthly payments, and it's the part almost nobody accounts for. Every dollar going toward looking successful is a dollar that isn't compounding. The $2,100 a month on the BMW lease, invested instead at a historical market average, would have grown to roughly $480,000 over 15 years. That number isn't a coincidence or an exaggeration. It's simply what compound growth does to money that isn't being spent to maintain an image. Derek isn't just failing to build wealth. He's actively paying every single month for the privilege of looking like he already has it. And the trap deepens the longer it runs. The BMW needs replacing in 3 years, and by then, Derek's income has grown just enough that a nicer lease feels justified. The watch gets upgraded when a colleague notices the old one. The house gets renovated because everyone else on the street is renovating theirs. Nothing about this requires a single reckless decision. It requires only that each individual choice, on its own, seems entirely reasonable for someone making Derek's income. The shift from Derek's path to Sam's doesn't require a dramatic income jump. It requires a handful of decisions, made early and repeated without exception. Investing happens first, automatically, before spending ever sees the money, a fixed percentage, taken off the top the day it arrives. So it's never available to be absorbed into a bigger car payment. Debt gets used only for appreciating assets, never for a watch, a vacation, or a lease that evaporates the moment the payments stop. Upgrades get delayed deliberately. The car, the house, the wardrobe stay one full tier below what the income could technically support, for years past the point where upgrading would feel justified. And net worth gets checked instead of the bank balance, because a healthy checking account can hide a genuinely fragile financial life, while net worth cannot be faked by a good month. None of this requires earning what Derek earns. Sam proved that with $47,000 less in income and 4 times the result. 11 years after that first dinner, Sam's portfolio crosses $2.4 million. Nobody at his office knows. His Camry, somehow, is still running. He's never lost a night of sleep to a corporate layoff announcement. He's never renegotiated a lease he couldn't afford. He's never had a single month where the bills grew faster than his ability to pay them, because he never let the bills set the pace in the first place. None of that shows up as a line item anywhere obvious. It's not a car in the driveway or a watch on his wrist. It's the quiet, compounding result of a decision he made once, 11 years ago, and simply never had to make again. Derek still leases a BMW. It's a newer model now, the 3rd one since that dinner. He still doesn't know his own net worth off the top of his head because he's never once wanted to calculate it. Sam still drives the Camry. It has 190,000 miles on it now. He still hasn't told anyone at that old dinner table what his portfolio looks like, because in 11 years, nobody has ever thought to ask. The car was never the story. The watch was never the story. The only number that was ever real is the one nobody could see. If this changed how you think about the difference between looking successful and actually being secure, hit subscribe. This channel breaks down the real psychology of money every week. And drop a comment. Are you spending like Derek or investing like Sam? Because 11 years from now, only one of those habits still compounds.